Every year on Valentine's Day, a 90-year-old grandmother would come to the station all dressed up, but now 65 years later, her husband still hasn't returned. A black and white photo fortunately captures their most memorable moment. Through the window, the old man's mind drifted back to that afternoon 60 years ago. The husband was saying his final goodbyes to the woman. He reached out and touched the baby, and promised he would be back before the baby was born. As she watched her husband leave, Caroline suddenly ran after him towards the carriage. She handed the card to her husband, and the man placed the card closest to his heart. Traffic was slow. They kept in touch with each other through letters. Every time the letter carrier passed by, Caroline would put on her makeup and wait. She would leave a kiss and put it in the mailbox. Finally, a few months later, Caroline received a letter from her husband. She couldn't wait to open the envelope. Inside was a model airplane. Because of the tension at the front, he couldn't get home before the baby was born. So he made a model airplane as a gift. And so the days went by. Caroline never heard from her husband again. Soon her baby was born. Caroline became so busy, so much so that she gradually lost the desire to think of her distant husband. One day she was doing the laundry as usual. Suddenly, the radio announced that the war was coming to an end. She was instantly filled with anticipation. From then on, she fantasized every day about her husband's return. But that day, Caroline saw the postman walking towards her with heavy steps. Her husband was piloting a plane that didn't make it back from a battle. In other words, he was missing. But Caroline was convinced that her husband would never go back on his word. So every Valentine's Day she came to the station. From a beautiful young girl to a gray-haired old woman. Until the day she was noticed by a TV station. A woman was sent to interview Caroline. In her description, the woman was moved by their story. She decided to help find out more about Caroline's husband. A year later, two solemn soldiers suddenly arrived at the door. They paid their respects to Caroline and returned her husband's belongings to her. They told Caroline that her husband would return in 3 days on Valentine's Day. It was the 66th Valentine's Day she had waited for. She arrived at the train station dressed to the nines. Unlike before, this time her husband came back.